Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Repeat Ron, and today we're going to be doing another Deep Rock Galactic tier list. This is on all the bugs, or all the creatures that you'll find on your adventures. I'm going to be ranking these mostly based on how much I personally enjoy them. So some of these bugs or animals, or whatever the heck they would be considered, might be higher just simply because I like the way that they're designed, I like the way they look, or what they do in the game. Others might be lower just for that reason. This isn't really a detailed guide as to which bugs are the most dangerous or the least dangerous. I actually have a separate video on that, so you can check that out. But today we're just going on which ones do I like the most, and I would encourage you guys to put down in the comments which are your maybe 5 or 10 favorite bugs, or your least favorite bugs, or whatever they might be. So our first bug or creature here is the Detonators bow wasp nest. These are stationary enemies. They're only really enemies if you walk near them, where they send out a cluster of wasps that come and sting you. You can kill the wasps. You can kill them really easy if you're using something like the flamethrower or any other large AoE weapon like the autocannon or something. They're not that much of a threat. They're kind of cool to see. I do like this. It makes the environment look even more lively. They're not one of my favorite things, but I'd probably put them in probably B tier. They're not bad. Not a bad design at all. Up next we have the cave leech. Cave leeches can be very dangerous. They can come and grab you, which can be kind of funny to watch people get grabbed by cave leeches. You know, if they're the first people just to run right into a room and you see just a bunch of tentacles coming down from the ceiling to grab the scout or something, that can be kind of funny, but for the most part these guys are kind of terrifying. Design wise, I kind of like them though. They are very creepy. I like their mechanics. I like that there is a enemy that can entrap you and potentially kill you. There's of course ways around this. Friends shooting it, you shooting it before it gets you, Bosco potentially killing it, or using the perk heightened senses. You can kill the leeches then. Overall for leeches, I'd probably put them in like A tier. Kind of scary, but also pretty cool looking and pretty gross. Alright, up next we have the cave vine, which is I guess technically considered a creature. These are completely harmless. You rarely notice them. They kind of react. It's kind of cool that you have an environment that does react that way. I'd probably put them in like C tier. They're not bad. Up next, we've got the Detonators Honeycomb. These can be found in the Sandblast Caverns. These are very similar to the wasp nests. They spawn a bunch of bugs that come out and try to swarm you. You can kill the bugs. You can kill these pretty easily. They'll only attack you if you go near them. They're usually not that much of a threat, and once again, I do like the way that they look, so I'd probably also put them in B tier. Alright, up next we have the fester fleas. These will only appear in maps that have a fester flea infestation, which is a secondary. You kill these guys, and then you get bonus rewards for it. Bonus experience, bonus cash. I do like the way these things look. They look like fireflies. They make this kind of odd chirping sound, sort of like a cricket. They're completely harmless, and I like just having them in the map. They're one of the easier side objectives to do with most classes. I would probably put them high up into A tier. I like the little fester fleas. Next we have the acid spitter. Acid spitters can be pretty dangerous. I rank them kind of low on my enemy list, and by themselves they're really not all that strong. But you almost always remember them when they're not alone. When there's like goo bombers, or there's goo around, or there's a slasher that can stun you or something like that, and then acid spitters can completely wreck your day. So they are pretty dangerous. They do look cool. I like the red. I like the basic bug model, I guess, in this game. I think it looks really good, and I'd probably put the acid spitter also into A tier. I'd probably put it above the leech. I think I like it more than the leech, less than the fester flea. Up next we have the spawn. The spawn comes from the nexus. So these little guys run out. They are, I believe, the weakest enemy in the game, at least enemy that can actually attack you, unlike some of these, like the plants that just simply don't do anything. But the spawn can attack you. They do pretty low damage. They have low health. There's usually not a ton of them unless you destroy the nexus without freezing it or really burning it, because burning it usually kills off all the spawns afterward just because they die from the fire. So spawns are not really a big threat. They look pretty much the same as a swarmer, but they're green. They're an okay bug. I'd probably put them I'd put them high into B tier. The Detonator is potentially one of the scariest bugs, at least for holding the area missions. They can show up, they can blow up, they can definitely down your entire team instantly, which can be very annoying. They can blow their way through the ground. They're not super difficult to deal with in a large area, and with certain weapons they're not so bad either if you can freeze them. they'll die. They still are one of the cooler looking bugs in my opinion. I like how creepy and menacing they look, and I love all the little embers around them before they're about to explode. I'd probably put the regular Detonator into S tier. I think it's a cool looking bug. Crassus Detonator, this is the one covered in gold. This is an even cooler detonator in my opinion because, well, when they explode, they create a giant gold mound that you guys can mine, which can net you a ton of money, which is great. I always love that. They just look a little bit cooler than the regular detonator, and I have no reason to not put them into pretty much the top part of S tier because extra money, they're dangerous, they look cool. They're just an S tier bug for me. Alright, up next we have the Dreadnoughts. So we have the basic Dreadnought here, and I would say the basic Dreadnought is one of the cooler looking bugs in this. They're only on elimination missions, so you will only get them then, and it's randomized as to which Dreadnought you're going to get, whether it's the basic Dreadnought, the twins, or the Hive Guard. And I'd probably put him into A tier. He is a cool looking bug. He can be a little bit annoying. He can be kind of hard, but overall, well, you know, I think I'm actually going to put him into S tier. I like his color scheme. I like the orange and the black. It looks good. The twins are very interesting. They can be the most annoying of the Dreadnoughts, in my opinion, because they can keep doing their burrowing thing where they just keep healing each other. I like the difference in the way that they fight, where one is much more heavily close range melee type fighting. The other one is long range, trying to hit you from a distance with projectiles. I like that. I think the twins would probably also go into S tier. I think above the regular Dreadnought. We also have the Hive Guard. The Hive Guard looks like an even more, I guess, decked out, more armored Dreadnought that spawns smaller Dreadnoughts or Dreadnought guards that come out, and you got to kill them. Then you got to break all of its appendages. I'm not really sure what to call them that sprout out of it. Then you can damage it. It's another cool looking bug. It's definitely the most boss-like bug, I would say, out of the bugs in this game, and I think that I'd probably put the Hive Guard actually pretty high up. I think I'd put it above the twins. Maybe not. Actually, I'd probably put it above the regular Detonator, not above the golden Detonator though. The Hive Guard is one of the cooler looking ones in my opinion. Up next we have the Exploder. This will also go for the radioactive Exploder. You can have some annoyances with these though, where if you drill through a wall or break through a wall and there's just a bunch of them waiting on the other side, that can end a bad day, but for the most part, they're not a bad bug, and I'd probably put them somewhere into B tier as to how much I like them. Up next, we got the Grunt. Grunt is the standard bug, and I think he looks great. I would probably put him into probably lower A tier, maybe above the Leech. Yeah, probably low A tier. I like the way he looks. Grunts are pretty good. Slasher, I would say, is actually better than the Grunt. I like the way that he looks more. I'd probably put him higher up into A tier, and the Guard I would probably put about at the same level as the regular Grunt. Then we've got the Menace. I really like the color scheme of the Menace, and I like the idea of the Menace, but the Menace is so annoying. It looks really cool. It has the cool burrowing effect. It can shoot a bunch of projectiles from a distance. I like all that. I think that's all really good, but just the annoyance factor of these things. They always show up at the worst time. They always focus you when you're trying to repair something or fix something that you really can't afford to let break, and it can cost you the mission. I'd probably put the Menace also into A tier. Up next we have the Oppressor. The Oppressor, I kind of go back and forth on. I like that he's so big and kind of intimidating, at least from a distance, but then you realize how slow that he's moving, and it's not all that hard to get behind him with a lot of classes and kill him quickly. So he seems really big and intimidating, but he's usually not that bad to fight. I don't know, I'd probably put him also into A tier. This game has a lot of really good designs, so don't be surprised if a lot of them end up in A and S tier. There is quite a few. The Praetorian. The Praetorian I like too because he just seems like he's a bigger grunt, but he also has different abilities like his vomit. He's got more color to him. When he dies, he expels the cloud that can be lit on fire. The Praetorian, though, is a pretty good bug. I'd probably also put him in A tier right next to the Grunt. They're both pretty iconic now, and I like both of them. We have the Web Spitter next. The Web Spitter, I actually kind of like more than some of these other ones. I like the colors, the purple in it. I like its mechanics of spitting the webs on you that messes with your screen. and slows you down but doesn't do that much damage. I kind of like a debuff like that in games where there is enemies like this. I think that's pretty cool. And you can do certain things to get away from that. If you use the perk dash, then you can dash and you'll remove the webs from you, at least the slowing effect. I think you still have the visual effect for a little bit. But there is some ways around it. I like the web spitter. I'd probably put him into S tier too. He's a cool looking bug. Up next are the swarmers. There's always a lot of them that come. If there's not, there's only one or two, and then you just smack them with your pickaxe. So they can be a threat. They might not be a threat. AoE weapons completely destroy these little guys. They're not really that bad, and I do kind of enjoy them, so I'd probably put them into higher B tier. The warden can give shields to all enemies nearby it, so it can shield them, make them stronger. The warden itself is really no threat. You can walk right up to it and beat it to death with a pickaxe if nothing's around it, because it won't attack you. I do like the colors. I think its mechanic is really cool too, giving buffs to all enemies. I like that. I would probably put the warden... I'd probably put the warden into lower A tier as well. Up next we have the loot bug. The loot bug is amazing. I mean, it's the symbol of Deep Rock Galactic. I mean, the loot bug, it looks adorable. You can pet them. You can kill them to get bonus resources. There's always a lot of them on maps. They're just great. Loot bugs are going very high up into S tier. And golden loot bugs, where these are extremely rare. If you kill them, you get a ton of gold from them. That's always a good thing. And the golden loot bug is going to the very top of S tier. I think above the golden detonator, even though they're both very, very good. It's just the golden loot bug, you have nothing to fear. Alright, up next we have the hexawing nifter. These you just see flying around. Again, this is a bug that you can pet. They pose absolutely no threat to you. Killing them gives you no bonus or anything like that, so you can just let them fly around. They look pretty in the environment, and they add more to the environment, so I see no reason why not to toss them into A tier. The Hoarder is another rare bug to show up. If you see them and start attacking them, they will drop rare materials. You can get a lot of really good materials like bismore, jadits, pearls from these guys, which is great. The main problem with these guys though is like almost every time that I see them, it's either I am the only person that sees them, I'm trying to kill them and I just can't because they have a lot of health and they're pretty resilient to damage, or the whole team goes to kill them and they end up falling off cliffs because they're just not watching what they're doing and just so fixated on killing this guy. So he can pose a threat, but it's mostly just from players' own greed. The Hoarder though is a great bug. I really like seeing them. They're probably also really high up into S tier. I think a little bit lower than the golden bugs, but about the same level as a loot bug, I'd say. Alright, up next is the cruiser. These are the larger jellyfish that you'll see floating around certain maps. These ones pose absolutely no threat to you. They just float around. They can occasionally bump into you, which is a little bit annoying. They're pretty much just decoration, and they look good. I like the way that they look, so I'd probably put them into B tier. Up next is the shocker, the little jellyfish. These ones can swarm out, zap you, slow you down, hurt you. They don't have very much health and they die very easily. AoE weapons, once again, completely destroy these little guys. But they can be rather annoying if they swarm you, especially if there's more than just them swarming you. If it's just them, they're usually not that bad. Not a huge threat, but they are a pretty cool bug overall. I'd probably put them somewhere into B tier. The tyrant weed is another rare creature. It's not really a bug. Creature that can show up on a map, and if you manage to destroy enough of its sprouts, which can attack you and they actually have really long range, it will open up. Once it opens up, you can attack the center of the tyrant weed, trying to kill it. If you kill it, then you break it apart and you get pieces of it, and they sell for a lot. Well, you get to trade them into Molly to get a bunch of cash afterwards and experience. So they are very good for that. They can be kind of difficult depending on the area. They can also spawn healing pods that will heal up the tyrant weed itself. Tyrant weed though is a pretty cool bug or creature, and I would probably put it also into S tier. I think lower into S tier, but still into S tier. Next is the brundlefly. This is one of the Mactera that could be flying around. This is the tankier one. These are kind of cool. They don't pose as much threat as some of the other Macteras, because they don't really attack all that much. They do hit fairly hard if they do hit you. They're going to eat up a lot of your ammo though too, at least for most weapons. Certain weapons can break through their armor pretty easily, but the brundlefly can be kind of annoying, and they're not a bad design. I'd probably put them somewhere into B tier. Up next we have the goo bomber. This also goes for the frost bomber. These guys drop goo. If you step in the goo, you get slowed down, and that's pretty bad. It will slow down all other walking creatures, so it will slow down things like grunts, but it won't slow down Mactera. They can fly over the top of that, not be affected by it, and still hit you. Goop bombers are much more of a support class, which I kind of like for this. They are annoying a lot of the time, and the frost bombers can actually do damage to you. The goop bombers won't. They'll just kind of be annoying. I would put them probably also into B tier. Not one of my favorite bugs, but still a pretty good design and a interesting mechanic. We have the grabbers. I do like the grabbers. You can always hear when the grabbers are coming because they make a very distinct noise. So you will get a prompt to know a grabber is in the area. And to keep a grabber after you, it's pretty easy. You just hit them in their weak spot, which they present when they're trying to reach down and grab someone. You can also, if they grab somebody, knock the person out of their grab. And they will eventually let go of whoever they did grab, unlike leeches, or leeches will let you go once you're dead. But the grabbers will let you go at some point, probably trying to take you to the highest area and drop you down to where you might die. If you're scout, you don't have to worry about it. You can use your grappling hook to survive. If you have hover boots, again, you don't really have to worry about it. So I would probably put the grabber probably into A tier as well. I think I'd put it actually higher up into A tier. Next, we have the regular Mactera. These guys fly around. There's usually a bunch of them. They spit at you. They can be rather annoying. They are kind of a cool bug. They're a cool ranged unit that can get into some really bad positions for you if there's a big open area. Probably like another B tier. Next we have the Trijaw. These are even more dangerous than the regular Mactera. I like that they fire out 3 projectiles at once and they can target multiple people with these. That is pretty interesting. They are much more dangerous, and I think I'd probably put them somewhere into lower A tier. Up next, we have the maggots. The only maggots that are actually dangerous are the ones in the magma core, because once you break them, they will cause a little floor fire or wall fire or ceiling fire, depending on where it is. And if you touch that, it will damage you. I believe you also get damaged by the maggots themselves. I have really stopped smacking these. When I was first playing the game, I was smacking these things pretty often, and that was not a great idea. But the regular maggots, they pose no threat to you. They have no health. They're just pretty much decoration on the walls, except for the magma core ones, which can injure you. I'd probably also put maggots somewhere into C tier. I like the way that they look, but they don't really do much. Up next, we have cave angels. These can be found in the Azure World as well. These are like giant manta rays. They fly around, and you can actually grab onto them and fly with them, which is pretty awesome. And for that alone, they are going into S tier. Somewhere up here. I don't know where. Next, we have the breeder. I don't really like the way the breeder looks, but it does have cool mechanics. It spawns the row, which can then spawn these little guys, and they can come flying after you, which is a very interesting mechanic. I guess I'll rank both these together since they're so similar. I should have probably done that with the Nexus too. So I'd probably put them somewhere into B tier. Same with these little guys and same with the Nexus. All of them are, I mean, the Nexus does look much more creepy, I would say. But that's the only really thing that it has going for it. Other than that, it's a stationary object that poses no threat to you. If you freeze it, everything inside of it's dead. If you burn it, pretty much everything's going to be dead as soon as it pops out. Parasites can only exist in the parasite warning. Grunts and larger will spawn at least one of these parasites that will kind of flail itself at you to try to injure you. They are very creepy. I kind of like that they're in the game. They're not one of my favorite bugs, but I'd still probably put them in B tier. The Krenar Youngling and the Shellback. So the Youngling, these guys roll up into a ball. They roll around the place. They look really cool in a lot of the areas. I like them, especially in a horde wave. I like seeing them because you just see all of the grunts coming. You know, maybe a bunch of the crawlers or something like that, and then you see these things rolling out. They seem like specialist units, and they are pretty cool. I do like them, even though the Younglings don't pose that much of a threat. They are still a really cool bug, and I'd probably put them in A tier. The Shellbacks are a threat. They can knock you out of position very easily. They can do a lot of damage with their hit and with the fall damage. They can also spin on you, that does a really high amount of damage, and certain weapons just don't do anything to these guys. It takes forever to kill them with certain weapons. I'd probably put these higher up into A tier. Up next we have the Harvester. These are once again a completely benign creature that's in the environment. They just go around and dig up the ground. The ground being dug up does not affect the landscape at all. They're just kind of in the way. They can push you around and you can easily get stuck on these guys, which is pretty annoying. but I do like the way that they look, and I'd probably put them into B tier. Up next we have the Spitballer. Spitballer is pretty much a stationary turret that will try to shoot you. They're fairly easy to kill, they burn easily, they freeze easily, they have a big weak spot, you can shoot their projectile. They can do a lot of damage to you, and they do splash damage, so they can actually hit you around corners with the kind of aimbot skills that they got. So they are a bit annoying that way, but I still really like them. I think that they're cool, and I'd probably put them, maybe not into A tier, maybe into B tier. High B tier, I think is where the Spitballer goes. Next we have the Stabber Vine. These guys can be pretty annoying. They are part of the environment in the bow. It's spiky and kind of dangerous, but these ones will actually try to stab you, which is kind of cool. I like that the environment is trying to kill you. I think that's a cool aspect of the game, and I'd probably put this up into B tier as well. And then we have the Trawler. These are the sand sharks in the sandblast caverns. They dig through the ground and try to grab you and then drag you away. They will eventually let you go if they do grab you, and they're one of the less likely bugs to grab you. It seems like I get grabbed much more often by grabbers or by leeches. The Trawlers don't usually pose that much of a threat, but they are a really cool bug. I like their design. I'd probably put them also into low S tier. So this is where I would rate all of the creatures in Deep Rock Galactic. I didn't put any in D tier because I don't think any of the bugs in this are just so boring or need to be updated or anything like that. I think they all look great and they all serve their purpose. There's only a few in C tier, and those are like the kind of basic stuff that you would see in the levels, or what you kind of expect to see in a space adventure game. With creepy bugs and dwarfs. Tell me what your favorite and least favorite bugs are down below. I'd really like to hear. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did and you're not subscribed, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post any of these videos, and I will talk to all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool and bye!